What's up friends, welcome back to the channel. In this simple video you will learn about the online detection using JavaScript. It's going to be very simple, so just stick around and see how it's done. The first example I'm going to show you is going to be very simple. We are just going to be clicking a button. Then in the next example it will be something that you can use it for. So the first one is basic and the other one is how you can use it in the production way. We're going to start by creating a simple div here. I'm just going to give it an ID, and these IDs are user defined. You can call it anything you want, so I'm going to call mine res, short for results. Then below it I'm going to create a button, and I'm just going to give it an ID of res btn. So as I told you, these are user defined. You can call it anything you want. I'm just going to put detect as the word that will be visible to the user. So let us open this in the browser. You can go where you have saved your file. So I just have a simple file here, index.html. That's it, with some simple styling that I'm going to explain very soon. So the container class that you saw, this one, I targeted it in the head section in this internal style tag, and it's the one responsible for leaving some margin this side and this side, so the stuff is like somehow centered. Then this is for the markup. Right now we just have an empty div that has nothing and the button, but we have assigned IDs to them. So we're going to come right before the closing body tag and we open our custom script tags. You can take out this type attribute if you don't want it, because it's not necessary. And let me first scroll up so we get space down here. So the first thing that you have to always do is listen for the document load. So we are going to say document dot add event listener, and the type of event that we want to listen to is the DOM content loaded. So when everything is loaded on the page, then we put in this callback function. So anything to run inside here, the document has to be fully loaded, so for the browser to execute the code that will be inside here. Then the first thing I'm going to do is access these IDs or elements that we created, and to do that is very simple. We're just going to declare variables, and the first one I'm going to call it res div, so the result div or division, this one, and I'm going to assign it to document dot get element by ID, and the ID that we want to access is this res. Then let us also get access to this button, and we are going to create another variable, and I'm just going to call it my btn. So these are user defined. You can call them anything you want. For the sake of this tutorial, that's what I'm using, and we are going to assign it to document dot get element by ID, and we want to access this ID of res btn. Then since we have now access to these elements using their IDs, we are going to add a click event on this button. So when the user clicks it, that's what we're going to say. We are going to do my btn. Remember, we created the variable here so we can access it using this. We no longer need to write all this statement. It's now stored in this variable, and we're going to say dot add event listener. So the type of event that we want to add is a click event. So when the user clicks it, then we are going to put in this callback function. So you can see how it's very simple. Since we have access to that element, we can do anything we want. So we have just added a click event on that button. So we can just first console.log and see, now say clicked. So we're just going to go in the browser refresh the page, press Ctrl Shift I on your keyboard, and they will bring up this console panel. So when we click this button, detect, you will see clicked. So that means the click event is now on this button, appended to that button. Very simple. So the thing that we want to do is to tell if this PC is online or offline. It's going to be very simple. Remember, this variable that we created, the resdiv, is now targeting this element. So what we are going to do is say resdiv dot inner HTML. So we want work in fact on that inner HTML. We want to put something in that area. So when it's clicked, we are going to use the navigator object. Navigator, and I'm going to explain this in details. Navigator, then dot online. Very simple. So I'm just going to refresh this page, click this button, and you're going to say false. So right now our PC is offline, so they will show false. Let us make this interesting. Say connection, then we are just going to append this connection. I want you to see the difference. So connection false, that means we don't have internet on this PC. And when we talk about the navigator object, you can come in the console here and write it here. You can see it's an object that has properties, and online is one of the properties. So if you have to scroll down and reach here, you will see online is false. You can see how it's very simple. So we are just using the navigator object, and inside it we can look for the online property. See, when I turn on my Wi-Fi here, so I'm just going to go and turn on the Wi-Fi. So right now it's connected. The moment I click this button, they are going to show true. So right now we have the online connection. You can take out that. You can see that it's true. Very simple. So that's the best way that you can tell if the user's PC is online or offline. But the user won't be always on the page clicking to see if they are online or offline. So we can set up a simple function that will redirect the user to an offline page when they are offline, and also bring them back to the previous page they are on in case their internet goes back on. It's going to be very simple. I'm going to take you step by step and see how it's done. So we can take out this. We no longer need this. Comment that out. Then I will also comment this out so that you guys refer to it. So what we want to do, we are going to create a set timeout function. Set timeout function. So you forgive me for the noise in the background if you are able to hear it, because it's raining heavily, and this will run every after 1000 milliseconds. So that's 1 second that will be running. And inside here we shall put an if statement. If navigator dot online, so L is in capital, is equal to false. So use these two equal signs. If it's equal to false, then we want to redirect the user to maybe a specific page, let's say offline.html. You can target an area on your page that will hide content when the user is offline, but for this tutorial I want us to be taken to a page, let's say offline.html. So we are going to say window dot location dot href, so the hyperreference. So here we are telling the browser when there is no connection. So when the navigator dot online is equal to false, that means there is no connection. so they will be taken to this page that we are going to create very soon. So offline.html. And for this to work, let's first create that file before we forget. Control S on your keyboard. You're going to create a file called offline.html, and that's fine. So for this function to run, we need to wrap this all statement inside a function that we have not yet created. So I'm just going to create a function here. I'm sorry for this. It was the first thing that I'm supposed to create, but I forgot. So we are just going to call it online detector, and we are going to carry all this statement, all this code we have written here inside here. So for us to execute this code, we need to call this function the online detector, and it's going to be very simple. We just say online detector here down, and we put those two parentheses. So here you'll be calling the function or executing it. So we are going to go check in the browser and refresh. So if it's offline, so right now they have done nothing. They have not taken us to the offline page. So to do that, we need to come here and put this set interval method, and this one takes in the function name and the milliseconds, so the time that you want it to be checking if the PC is offline. So we shall pass in 1 millisecond also. So let us refresh the page. Let us Ctrl+Shift+I. We may be having an error here. Oh, why isn't this working? Set timeout and put in this callback function. Navigator. Oh, right now we have the connection. Let me first turn off the connection. So right now we are being taken to the offline.html. So at first, if we had a connection here, so let me first go back to that page, index.html. So right now we are online, but in case I'm to go off, they are going to take us to offline.html. So that means we need to put some content on offline.html, and I'm just going to carry the whole online.html to offline.html, and we are going to take out this, and here we shall just say you are offline. We can take out this. So on an offline page, the only part that we are going to be changing is this hyperreference value, because remember, the internet can go off when the user is on the about us page, contact us page, the blog page. So you always don't want to take people back to the index page, so where the website starts from, like the home page. So you need to keep track of the previous page that the user was on and redirect them there. And in JavaScript it's very simple. So in this hyperreference, we are just going to write JavaScript, and it takes in the history object. You can say history. So here we get access to the history object, the page that the user was on, and here we just say we put in the go back function. So we say history dot go. Wow. And here we just say minus 1. So you're going to see what I mean when we do this. So here we're just saying window dot location dot hyperreference, so href JavaScript, then we pass in the history object and this go back function. So the go back function will go one page back that the user was on. So this is what the -1 does. So it will track the previous page that the user was on and it takes them back to that page. If they're on the blog page, they go back to the blog page. So let us refresh the page. This is what we are having. So we have a problem right now. This is not supposed to be happening. So here on offline we need to change this false, because on the home page we are checking for false. So here we need to check for true. So when they're on the offline page and the value is equal to true, they will be taken back to the previous page. Let us refresh this page. So you can see we don't have that behavior again, but the moment we turn on the data, we are going to be taken to the index.html file. So right now, you forgive me for that, right now we are online, so it will take us back to the previous page that we are on. So imagine on the about us page, they will take you to the about us page. When we go off, it will detect and take us to the offline page. You can see how it's very simple to detect if the user's PC is online or offline. So guys, if this tutorial was useful to you, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, like the video and share it on different social medias. Remember, as I told you, you may not decide to redirect people to pages, but you can also hide some content that you don't want the user to see on the page when they are offline. So it's like a simple exercise that you have to carry on by yourselves and see how you can come up with a simple cool project from this Navigator object and the online property. So guys, once again, subscribe to the channel if you really enjoyed it, and I'll always see you in the next tutorials. Peace.